This is the Mike LaPetri Show. Nassau County property taxes are way too high. That's why you need Reassessment and Evaluation Services, Inc., the #1 tax grievance provider that offers personal service and high success rates. Grieve your taxes now before the deadline on March 1st, 2024. Call today for more info, 516-742-5180, or apply online at reassessmytaxes.com. Here we go. We have the man of solar. Is that like a superhero name? Scott Maskin, founder and CEO of SUNation Energy. Solar Man is here.
The Tony Stark of solar.
That's exactly it. Instead of the middle being his imaginary energy, you have solar energy, the solar beams. Wasn't that Captain Planet? Are you Captain Planet?
Listen, I'll be Captain Planet Aquaman. I'll do whatever you want me to be today. No, but it's we've been passionate about solar for a long time. We'll get into a lot of the discussion.
Yeah, I'm excited about all your background with solar because SUNation Energy, for those who don't know, is a locally owned residential solar installation company on Long Island who specializes in providing residential and commercial solar power, Tesla Powerwall, and also solar ecosystems in the community to lower electricity prices, which is awesome because you're somebody that started, you founded this, back in 2003, and your background is an electrician. You obtained your master's electrician's license. You worked for 18 years as an electrician. And then for you had this passion that emerged in the early 2000s, around 2001, and you started to found this company, SUNation Energy, which has taken off and blossomed, and you truly were a step ahead of the game in where the market needed to go. But how did you even develop that passion, Scott?
I have a passion for making money and succeeding, and to be quite honest, I was bored to hell of the electrical industry, right? Like, it was just who could do the most, cheapest, fastest. I had built subdivisions all over Long Island. I had done hotels. I did whatever needed to get done, and it's not exciting, right? And there's always somebody nipping at your heels. Yeah, it's horrible. And again, it's hard to. You have to specialize in certain things to even be considered, and then there's 15 other people I specialize in the same thing. So the electrical industry was the wild, wild west, but it gave me the opportunity in 2001. My cousin, my co-founder at the time, he was very passionate from the 70s about renewable energy, right? And solar hot water and stuff like that.
Really?
Going back to the Grumman days, right? It's kind of a nerdy dude. And he says, hey, listen, LIPA has this program called the Solar Pioneer Program. You should really check it out. And this is 2001, right? I'm like, okay. I went quick class over at Farmingdale State College, got certified to design, solar systems.
Oh, that's awesome.
3-week class, right? And I'm an electrician.
Yeah, but you took that initiative to learn about it. That's pretty awesome.
And then in a weekend, my wife and my best friend and I put I'm going to say a 30-panel system up on my high ranch in Oakdale. And we did it, there were no parts. This was like, here's the panels, here's the inverter, which is the brain. There's no way to mount it to the house. There's nothing, right?
Yeah.
Build a better mousetrap.
And this is when they were super thick, too, these panels, right?
They were thicker, bigger. In the same footprint that I'm now installing a 400-watt solar panel was a 100-watt solar panel. So it's 2001, and I installed the system with my friend. We literally bolted half of it in sections of 6 panels at a time, flew it up to the roof with a cherry picker truck, tarred and shit it all over the roof and stuff like that. And at the end of that weekend, right, I watched my meter spin backwards, which was pretty freaking cool, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, so I'm making electricity. This is cool. I had $28,000 in equipment costs, aside from my time with my wife and my friend and stuff. And I'm like, I got a rebate check back from LIPA for $42,000. I got a tax credit at the time. I think it was about another $20,000 from the federal government and a $5,000 state tax credit. And I'm scratching my head. I'm like,
this is something.
This might be a business.
Yeah,
here,
we got something.
Here I am, I'm knee deep in mud doing a pool wiring thing.
Right.
To take $200 home in my pocket, and I just made $40,000, and I'm producing my own electricity. So that's kind of how it started. The industry there was no industry on Long Island.
No.
I was number 14 in New York State to have solar on my house.
The 14th home.
14th home. At least on Long Island, but I'm pretty sure it's New York as a whole.
That's pretty awesome.
There might be some,
That's ridiculous.
Tobacco chewers upstate
Yeah.
that did off-grid
They're
shit.
just like, why not?
But this was the 14th net metered system, right? And I'm like, so now, fast forward 22 years, right? Like, whatever it is. And we've installed now 9,000 systems, just my company.
Yeah.
We service 15,000 systems for companies that have gone out. We've installed 100 megawatts, which doesn't mean anything to anybody, but there's probably 50 companies in the country that have installed more than 100 megawatts, maybe 75, right? So right here on Long Island. The worst part is that to this date, not one freaking part that I buy, not one foot of wire that I buy, not one solar panel, nothing is actually produced on Long Island or New York State. But that's a whole nother thing we can talk about.
Yeah, because I want to hear about that too. Why aren't we creating that connection here and making that economy here?
Why?
I got to talk about that. So how does it work? What are the upfront costs? What's the process? How does it even work with the energy recirculating in the home?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got to break that down, because I think so many people, they hear solar and only thing anybody knows is the solar panels on the house.
Right.
That's all it means. But I have no idea with how long it takes to install. I have no idea how it gets how it actually works to lower my energy costs. I have no idea do I have to then fill out tons of paperwork for government credits, subsidies? Like, what do I have to do for that?
So first and foremost, solar is not free. There's so many companies, solar's free, but by the same token, most people think that they can't afford solar.
Right.
And 99.5% of the systems that are installed are fully financed. And basically, if you're interested in solar, and I can't make a financial case that you're going to save money from day one, then don't do it, right? It doesn't make any sense, right? I mean, again, we sell control, right? If you think about it, Mike, you're sitting there, you have a watch, you have a shirt, headphones. Every one of those is a choice. You chose that shirt, you chose that watch.
I did.
Right?
I put on pants as well.
Right,
in case
you
you're
did.
wondering.
I
Yeah.
could see nice tight pants, right? But electricity, the bill comes in from LIPA, and you pay the bill.
Right.
There's no other way. Like even gas you can get from different vendors, oil from different vendors. This is the one thing that you have absolutely no control of. So I give choice, and I also give savings. That's what solar ultimately does. What I would say is that the industry, I'll take you through like the whole cycle, but what I'll tell you is that like most of it is now financed and makes a good financial case. Sometimes it could be if somebody finances it through a home equity line of credit or somebody has cash. Payback is probably somewhere in the 10-year range.
Right.
There were times when we had significant rebates from the state and whatnot that, we were in 2008, 2009, it was a 2-year return on investment. I mean, literally, we were better than CDs and more reliable.
That's incredible.
Right? Now, listen, because of interest rates, which we won't go into today, but
we know that.
It extends it. Most people, they get into like a 15-year, you can get into a 15-year product that still saves you money and gives you choice, gives you control, and you're really hedging. We use the word a lot at SUNation about being future-proofing your home, right? Like, there's no question that rates continually go up.
Yep.
So the sooner you lock in, like, when's the best time to go solar?
Now.
Today. If you asked me that 6 months ago, today. If you ask me that 6 months from now, I'm going to say, now.
Yep.
Don't wait. It's not an if people are going to do it. It's a when and what the benefits are. Now with the IRA, Biden's IRA thing that came through, we're still waiting on guidance, but the federal tax credit on a residential system is 30% of the gross cost of the project. There's another $5,000 that you get back from the state. Again, we're lobbying for that to be a little bit higher because, the state really wants 100% renewable by 2035.
That's
Everybody's
right.
going to be in EVs. The world is going to be great. There's not
All
going to be
electric buildings.
no plastic, no fossil. Right. It's all going to happen in
Gold.
7 years.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. We'll see about that. But it is a good, solid investment. The technology's there. But, to give you some scale, a phone call, a lead comes in. Somebody, Mike says, I'm interested in solar in my house.
Right.
The first thing we do, we get on the phone with you. And we really have a heart-to-heart, like, okay, so what motivated you? Why are you looking to do solar? So that we know Are you cost conscious? Are you looking for, screw the utility. I just don't want to pay my bill, right? There's different motivation factors. Then we're looking at your house. We're saying, are you a good application, right? Are you buried in trees? If you are buried in trees, are you willing to trim those trees? Do you have a shitload of, peaks, valleys, gables that,
Right.
Do you have good exposure, right?
Exactly.
What's the condition of your roof? There's a lot of shit that goes into this to make sure that before we waste any time, yours or mine, that you're a good candidate for solar or a reasonable candidate for solar. Then we go out, we do a site evaluation because honestly, I've had 1,000 people tell me, oh, I did my roof 5 years ago, it's great. And they use Jose, chuck in a truck and there's already nails popping out, right?
Yeah.
Then I have other people that have roofs that are 20 years old that are pristine, right? So we have to look at that. We have to look at structural integrity of the house to make sure that panels aren't going to blow off or rip off stuff. So there's a little site evaluation thing, but ultimately, all that we do all the heavy lifting. Every quality, not just SUNation. There's some hacks out there, but there's a lot of good quality local Long Island based companies that really, we build our business on referral basis. We're not big national conglomerates, even though I'm now a publicly traded company. So I could be pseudo considered a national company. Our roots are here on Long Island. We're, again, a 60% referral-driven company.
Wow.
6 out of 10 of my jobs.
All based on who you know.
Yeah, it's hey, we use SUNation. You should call Scott. Call this. And so it's been a great ride. We call it the solar coaster because
I like that.
just when you think, it's unlike, I shouldn't say because I don't know other industries, but just when you think you're in solid ground, there'll be a supply shortage or
Right.
somebody will impose restrictions on who's importing panels, or there's a ship sideways in the Suez Canal holding up,
Yep.
your equipment delivery, or there's, whatever. COVID was a real challenge for us, but we that's why we call it. There's always these.
Yeah, I can imagine that extended the timeline greatly. What would be the normal timeline from beginning to end for full installation, assuming everything is normal?
So normal. I love that word. Normal.
Yes.
Okay. We have 57 villages and towns
Yeah.
on Long Island. Everyone has their own permit process. So
Yes.
let's take that variable. I would say that we've compressed the cycle down. If you called me today, there's a likelihood that you would have glass on your roof in 90 days, maybe less, somewhere between 55 and 60. But one of our, unique value adds at SUNation is from the day you sign,
Yes.
okay, we start paying your electric bills.
Oh,
Now, we
interesting.
cap it a little bit, but, it's like the sign and drive mentality.
Yes.
Listen, we're fat Americans. We want instant gratification. I made the decision. Now I want it. We decided to get a pool. I want to be swimming this weekend,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's not the reality, but, we want instant gratification for our decisions. We want to be smarter than everybody else. And so that's why we instituted that. Like, well, listen, we can do that. That's a great promotion to take advantage of. You went solar, and now if it also incentivized my team, because from that day on, I start paying your bills.
Right. So you got moving.
Guess what? Compress the cycle. Let's go. You cost the big daddy money. Let's go. I don't want to hear that we're waiting for the PE to stamp this. Get the PE over here right now
Yep.
because it's costing big daddy some money, right? It's a good motivation all the way around. But that's the reality of it. It's a seamless, and any company that's worth their salt on the island, it's a seamless process where we do all the work. It is definitely a partnership, right? Like, I need you. Mike, listen, you need to sign this. I'm going to send you a DocuSign. Okay. I can't move forward until this thing is DocuSign, or you give me your electric bill, or you give me a copy
Provide the
of,
necessary documents to
There
move
has to
forward.
be good
Yes.
that.
Can't
More-
just sit on your ass and do nothing.
More important than that is we really try to establish that we're both in the game together, right?
Yeah.
We monitor your system for the first year. We're watching your system. You also have an obligation to let us know. I changed my internet provider. We haven't been able to have visibility into your system, nor is your app working for 3 months.
Gotcha.
So there's a long term. We want to make sure that we underestimate and overperform, right?
Yes, of course.
So we want to make sure that at the end of that year we're going to go, look at what you just did, right? You made this decision. We did this together. Look, you saved all this, and one of one of the cool things about this business and why I got into it, right? Like, there's, aside from my kids are proud of me, aside from that, it's good for the environment and that I make a good living.
And you're happy, right?
You know what? Some days, yes. Some days, some days you the dog, some days you the hydrant, right? Today I was a little bit of the hydrant,
Gotcha.
but there's a benefit. Like, when I take my 9,000 customers and put them together, right? The impact that one little company on Long Island makes to the Long Island economy, I save or generate, however you want to look at it, Long Island ratepayers, my 9,000 customers, about $22 million annually.
Jesus.
All right? Right? So, but the cool part is, like, you think about that. That $22 million, that goes to the restaurants. That goes to home improvements. It goes to dance class, judo class, whatever. It stays in the local economy. And when I check out and I'm done, like, that's a legacy impact that for 25 years, 30 years, my customers, I generated this wealth to the Long Island economy. I guarantee you, as an electrician, as an electrical contractor, I couldn't do that in a million years, right? So, and that's like one of the things, like we talk about, like the wind farms that are going up. And I'm a green guy. I love renewable energy. I don't know much about wind. What I do know is that, LIPA signed a contract with a Dutch company, right?
Yep.
They signed a power purchase agreement. They're funding Ørsted or whoever it is. They're going to fund all this. Okay. Aside from fishing grounds being disturbed, and I get it. This progress has to be made, whether it's fracking or drilling or whatever. There's always infrastructural changes, right, to the environment. But what I don't tolerate is that there's about $3 billion a year for the next 25 years that is now going to be shipped from these ratepayers, not to New York State, not to Long Island, New York State, not to the United States, out of the country.
Right, to these companies.
It's a lot of wood, man. That's a lot. And you can check my numbers and stuff like that. I'm generalizing, but that's kind of like what, if LIPA, owned the wind farm and we kept that power and we were distributing it here, I might feel a little bit differently. I know it's going to go through. I know it's progress and stuff like that.
But for you, ultimately, it's about what you've created is about injecting those funds back into Long Island's economy.
Well, that's like to check the box. Like at some point, there has to be some good that you do in the world, right? Like, somebody that builds a subdivision and drives through and sees kids on bicycles riding through in safety and stuff like that. He made money on building the house, but he built a life for people, right?
Right.
It's cool. Everybody has their different, Margaritaville, their different passion, right? But for me, aside from making a good living, aside from being able to really build an industry on Long Island, right? Like to participate in building policy and that kind of thing, which I would not have been able to do. I don't know too many emerging industries that would afford somebody like myself to participate. Maybe in computers and AI.
Yeah, AI, I was going to say. Maybe it might be
but hands-on, again, using your hands to create
the gig economy, that also could be part of it. I mean,
there's a lot of stuff you would know as well as I. But that, like, to me, that's like the coolest thing is that impact that I'm making, a legacy impact to all of these families and the local economy, right? And that's both residentially and commercially.
So break it down for me now. After that first year that you take over the bill for the residents, how does it work where thereafter? So now it's all installed. You went past the 90 days. You start instituting the panels, implementing them and building them on the houses. But then thereafter, now all the panels are up there, and you take over for a full year. Is that right?
No, we monitor the system. So there's one of the plagues of any industry is terminology, right?
Totally.
Your salesman said this, right?
Yes.
No, he said this, but you heard this, right?
Right. It's understanding, getting the same page with everything. Right. So meeting of the minds.
So when I say monitoring, your mind immediately goes to ADT or Central Station Monitoring for an alarm system that you're paying $29 a month or whatever, and they're watching your system that if it goes off, they call the police, right? So in our industry, we have this word monitoring, right? What we mean is that on your app or on your desktop, you can monitor your system. That doesn't necessarily mean that, and if one of the other companies tells you they're monitoring, it's probably a lie, right? you can monitor it yourself. So what we did specifically, aside from like the pay your bills program, sign and drive, we're paying your electric bill. We give a year of monitoring the system, which we actually quarterly, we look at the system, make sure it's performing, make sure we can communicate, with the system and stuff like that.
But how does that, you said pay your bills and then monitor it. Which one, explain those.
So, okay, the pay your bills promotion that SUNation has
Yes.
means that when you sign a contract with me, I am going to take your bill. I'm going to now pay your bills for the 90 days or the
That's
3
what I mean.
months.
Until when?
Well, listen, I cap it at a certain amount, I can't bleed, I want to do this, right? But I can't just upend it. I couldn't do that to somebody and say, well, I'm going to pay your bills, but you're in a 27,000 foot house in East Hampton, right? And your bills are $9,000 a month, right?
Gotcha.
I can't factor
But
in
say on
27,000 on a $40,000 system.
I
right?
get you.
But I could take a normal thing at $1,200 or something
Exactly.
like that. And for the most part, most people, their bill is $250 a month, $300 a month. Maybe in the summertime it goes up, then it'll go down in the winter.
Exactly.
So I'm comfortable with that, paying those bills for 90 days for the year round, right? And again, it's until the system is up and operating.
Gotcha. Then from there, it transitions back to the homeowner.
Now you have a loan payment traditionally on the solar system, okay? I've done my job. Now you have to work with your accountant to get the tax credits and stuff, which you'll get. You'll lay out everything, or the finance company will lay it out, and then we do bridge loans so that the 30% and the $5,000 you kick back in and you re-amortize to get your payment lower and lower.
Understood.
Right? So you got to have tax appetite. Not every seat is for the right ass.
Of course.
Right? So you have to make sure that the customers, what used to kill me, you would see some of these large national companies and they're signing people up for signing an 85-year-old guy up who was on Newsday once. They had a picture of an 85-year-old guy in a wheelchair, a veteran, with tubes coming out of his nose, right?
Signing this.
Signing a 25-year deal, sitting under an elm tree, shading the solar panels that they put on. This guy's never going to see a dime, right?
Right.
It's just the practice sucks, right?
And that's your vetting process. You ensure where in that situation you're not the right candidate for this. Like I'm not getting into bed with you.
You're not a
to
good
engage in
candidate.
that, and that's going to waste your time, and that's going to hurt my business with my reputation.
Right. It's negative. Right. But you know what? Listen, a lot of companies, salesmen are commission people.
Yeah, that's not SUNation though. That's
right.
SUNation style.
We have a higher level of ethical standards. And that's why our referral base is so high. So it's funny. There's a couple of big guys a couple of national companies that actually put in more applications every month than I do, but I put more glass on the roof than they do. And I'm talking big companies, right? Because our process is really good. We have, I think it's 94% of every contract that we sign and put an application in, glass goes on the roof, as opposed to some of these companies that are in the 50% range. They're just throwing shit against the wall, seeing if it sticks.
That's a terrible model.
But every industry that's profitable has those people in it. I don't care what industry it is. Car sales, you name it, they're all in there.
Yeah, I find it, though, excellent that you focus on what's going to be best for the people that you're servicing.
Right.
Because ultimately, exactly that, you're going to get the return on investment.
I live here.
Yeah.
I have to see people at the market. I'm wearing SUNation garb all the time, right? And it's funny, I'll be in like a garden center or something. And, oh, you work for SUNation? I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm always very like not that everybody gets my cell phone number. I was like, oh, we used them 5 years ago. It was great. I was like, I'm Scott.
Yeah.
Oh my God, right?
It's like you wait for them to say, did you like us?
Yeah, well, for both sides, because I want somebody to give me real feedback.
Yes.
Yeah, you know what? They came at it great, and then they screwed it up. I want that feedback, not as if I'm the owner of the company, so that I could say, well, what could we have done better?
That's smart.
Not everything. So but again, I live here. My kids grew up here. This is home, right? And I'm not leaving. So the last thing I'm going to do with my business is, leave a legacy of shit. And, that was like when we just went through an acquisition, through a merger, and we're publicly traded.
Yeah, congratulations to that.
you.
It's awesome.
Yeah,
Big achievement after 2 decades.
You know what the best part of that was? And you do not edit this out. My 85-year-old chubby Jewish mother that lives in Delray Beach, Florida, got to watch her son, okay, who has 3 weeks of community college under his belt, right?
Yeah.
Ring the bell at NASDAQ. So dreams can come true. And she was her chest was out to here, you know, in the whole development that she lives in and stuff. So again, you know, check a box like, wow, succeeded. You know, did something good with his life. You know, that's fun.
Yeah, I love that. So now, as the residents progress, they will have amortized payment to pay for the installation and servicing, but ultimately that payment will be paid off, and then you'll have virtually no electric bill, minimal electric bill.
When it's
Is that
when it's done.
that's
okay,
so 5, 10 years, 15 years, whatever program you're on.
right. So let's say that you didn't finance it. You had cash laying around that you wanted to invest. So let's say that, you know, in 12 years, yeah, I mean, obviously you would recoup. Let's get into costs, right?
Yes.
So like, I'm the dumbed down version. Somebody that has a bill of about $2,500 a year, right?
Yep.
Give that, right?
Yes.
You know, I know it goes up in the summer and down in the winter and stuff like that. But let's talk your annual cost of $2,500. Probably equates, if you have a reasonable application, to about what we refer to as a 10 kilowatt system.
Okay.
Right? So that could be 25 panels up on your roof, assuming you can fit them, right? Let's get very broad strokes here.
Yes.
So that $35,000 job, $32,000, something like that, which, by the way, in 2001, when I did it, that 10,000 watt system would be about $95,000. Now it's $35,000, right? So you're immediately getting back $12,000 from the federal government, another $5,000. So your 32 just got chopped by 17 once you re-amortize. The rule of thumb is that let's say 10 years, you're going to have a net cost after tax incentives and credits. You have a net cost of about 20 grand.
Okay.
Right? So you're going to have 22,000, right? So you're going to have about 8 to 10 years of you took $20,000 out of your savings account.
Correct.
And for the next 8 years, you put $2,500 back in. Right?
Gotcha.
Now, the variable here is that once the system's up, for the most part, they're foolproof. They don't require maintenance. The electronics are way better than they were in the early days. The panels just don't go bad.
Do you have any warranties with
Oh,
that?
yeah. So I'll finish on. So once you've done that, you have to realize that average cost of electricity goes up. They factor usually 2 to 3% a year.
Understood.
So now you've fixed your costs. So if it goes up 10, you know, as those interest rates go, as rates go up, you go down.
Correct.
So like right now we're sitting at, I'm installing jobs that the electric rate, again, let's talk today and not time of day rates that are coming up, which I want to touch on. But
Yes.
let's say I sold jobs, they were 22 cents a kilowatt hour, right? And right now it's 26 cents a kilowatt hour. So when I did your ROI, you know, on your initial decision to go solar, I've now expedited that quicker, right? It's highly unlikely rates ever go down, right?
Of course.
We're on Long Island. We own this utility.
Yep.
It's just not.
Yes,
it's not
it's a
reality. So that's kind of how it pays out. You know, back to the monitoring thing, which we didn't finish it. What we do is we have what we call the Guardian package, where we actually watch it for the first year. Okay, really make sure it's foolproof. It's delivering on anything. We report to you quarterly, let you know. And for me, it's a great way to touch, you know, the customer, you know, 3 months. Hey, look what your system did. This is a great marketing
That's
thing.
nice, yes.
But it also is the peace of mind. And why I built this program was that, you know, in the drip campaign, it'll be, okay, so you're at the 6 month mark. Just if you would like to continue, just so you know, us monitoring your system will end on October 3rd, 2022. If you'd like us to continue doing it, we're happy to do that. But just like central station monitoring with alarm system, you need to pay for that service.
Of
and
course.
we have 2 years, and it's nominal. A couple of $100 a year, something like that. It's nominal, right? To have us watch you. But if not, it creates that line in the sand, you know, on October 3rd that says, okay, you're now responsible. We're here for you 24/7, but
this is on
you
you.
have to let us know if the system is not functioning right. Don't wait 3 months till you get a blown out bill because, you know, Johnny turned the breaker off or something like
Right.
that, right? Like, so, you know, that's when I say the partnership. The partnership goes on well after the sale. You know, this is a 25-year dance or a 30-year dance where we need to be there for you and you need to be there for us communicating with us.
Yeah, and I think you definitely have expanded that connection with the residents and making sure that there is that communication. And you've also created this solar ecosystem which is about bringing in the residents, correct? On a more macro level, can you really vet that out of how this benefits the community?
Yeah. So, how can I put this? It's a tough one. So, there's a few things that we've created. We've created an online portal for every one of our customers, right? Which gives them access to watch their system. It gives them access to all their documents. You think about it, you're closing on your house and you have a loan, it's on the portal, right? Like, so you don't have to search for something.
Which is nice.
The saddest part about my industry is so many of the locusts come in to clear the fields, and as soon as it gets tough and they have to sell against me instead of giving shit away, they're gone. So I'm maintaining and servicing the 9,000 and some odd systems that I've done, right? But I'm actually doing probably another 5,000 systems just on Long Island alone and the 5 boroughs, 3 of the 5 boroughs, for companies that are no longer here. They're orphans. These are orphan solar systems that people wouldn't even know if they're working or not. Wow. Pre-2015, 2016, solar systems didn't even have monitoring, right? Like there was no device, there was no technology to do that. So there's thousands of systems out there right now that are not working, that the homeowners don't know aren't working, and they're just in a hole. Like we're trying to attack that, and give them a place to go and stuff like that, and that's part of the hometown, kind of thing that we do. Nobody that built a business like ours on Long Island, I can't speak for the big nationals, right? But we all have kind of a dedication. Like, you took a chance. Remember, most of my customers,
You believed in us.
they have electricity. They get it from PSE&G.
Yeah.
This isn't something that they need. This is something that they're making a choice to try, right? And listen, man, 2003, when we really started doing this, we sold 1 system. Then we sold 3 systems. I was still doing an electrician at the time, right?
Yeah.
And we built it to now we'll install just residentially. Forget commercial. That's another thing, and we'll talk about. But residentially, I probably deploy somewhere around 100 systems a month just on Long Island, Queens, and Brooklyn, and Staten Island.
Wow.
Right? So, it's a machine. It moves. We're probably have a head count of about 170, maybe 180 full-time employees right now. This little guy, one guy with 3 weeks of community college.
God bless you.
So aside from the 22 million that we inject, we feed 800 people, right? It's a big load on the shoulders, but I wouldn't trade it for anything.
So this ecosystem is all about cultivating that service, that support, that monitoring to those in need who have solar. They can come to SUNation and know, we got you, we know how to help you, to make sure you're getting the best bang for your buck, and to make sure that what you believed in is still working.
We also, through the evolution of the company, we've rebranded 4 times now, right? We're on our 4th one. So we're really SUNation Energy now. Like our business has really changed. We're much more than a solar company. We do solar, we do EV charging, we do battery storage systems with Tesla Powerwalls. We do something called a span panel, which is an integrated, you think about your electrical panel in the house, right? And I always joke, I do solar and it goes into the electric panel. And I do battery storage and it goes in and out of the electrical panel. And I do EV charging, which comes in, out of the electrical panel, the breaker center, right?
Yes.
That shit hasn't changed now in 50 years. Since back in the day when you went to your grandparents' house and you were unscrewing glass fuses.
Yeah, of course.
Really, the circuit breaker panel hasn't changed, and yet it's the brain of the communications of the entire home, right? So, one of the products, when I say this ecosystem, right, we're installing some of our customers are doing what we call the full 5. Like, we're a GAF Master Elite. We have a roofing business in-house as well, because ultimately, if the roof leaks after I do solar, it's on me, right? So we started, and we're one of the highest level of GAF, and we can control the entire installation, right? So if there's a problem, it's one call, right? I'm even on the verge right now of possibly importing my own SUNation panels, right? Building and importing my own SUNation panels to own the whole vertical. But so when we look at a future-proofed house, right, we start with somebody who has may or may not need a roof. That's a variable. But what we like to do is the pain point is my electric bill. great. Now let's really talk about the electric bill, because do you have any? Mike, we're talking about you, like, and your family and your growing family. Are you going to have an electric vehicle? Are you going to put a pool in?
All the future,
Are
and
you
how can you take and handle the output, the need,
Right. Are you going to change
the load,
Right.
the load.
Are you going to go to heat pumps?
Yep.
Do you have LED light? You know, we're talking about
Which is fascinating to see how it all integrates together.
You have to. So we're not, because we want to size the system not just for what's today, but what's tomorrow and so on.
Ensure sustainability.
And everybody says, "Oh, yeah, no, I'm never going to get an electric vehicle." Bullshit. You are going to get an electric vehicle. It may not be today, okay, but once you drive one, and once the cost and the charging structure changes, people are going to lean towards EVs because they're just cool as hell. All right, they are.
Yeah, well, you got to make sure then the grid can sustain that. That's a whole separate issue on that, because that's going to be the bigger problem. Because as I hear more and more, exactly what you're just talking about is your load with your home. Now that also make that a macro way towards the community is you have to ensure that all these vehicles and variables, whether it be vehicles, buildings, solar panels, et cetera, batteries, all that's going into the grid and pulling out from the grid, it better be able to sustain that structure, right? People think, how I look at it is, and put it in simple terms, is someone lifting weights, where it's like a squat, when they're squatting with the barbell. And you put more weight on, more weight on, more weight on, more weight on, you better make sure that you can hold that.
Right.
Otherwise, you're going to collapse. And that's what people don't realize, is that you're putting more weight on into our entire energy economy.
And our grid is not ready for it.
It's not.
There's not been enough investment, on the commercial side. When we do a commercial project, like you're sitting in a building in Hot Park, this building has loaded with solar panels up on the roof.
Yeah.
Now, what this building has is what we refer to as community solar system, meaning that the landlord that owns the building doesn't really have the need for the power. It's not a manufacturing plant. It's not a warehouse. It's not, but he's got roof space.
Yes.
And he's got tenant space. So what we did here is we deployed what we call community solar system, meaning that there's a ton of people. Don't forget this, 1.1 million ratepayers on Long Island-ish, right? There's 70,000 solar systems out there, right? There's probably, of the 750,000 residential, 800,000 residential customers, there's probably 50% of those that are renters that, live in the trees. They're just poor solar candidates, or they don't have tax appetite. They can't take advantage of the tax codes. So through this process called community solar, I can sign you up. You rent an apartment. I can deliver power from the building here, okay, to your house, and it's basically an exchange in credits on the meter
Right.
to PSE&G, and still save you 10, 12% on your electric bill.
And then meanwhile, he gets some benefits here
Sure,
for space that he wasn't going to use anyway. So it's his
Exactly.
bonus.
Yeah.
It's like passive income for him.
So exactly. So there's always ways, right? Like you have to be nimble.
That's resourcefulness.
Hell yeah, you build programs and stuff, and listen, PSE&G, LIPA's been a really good partner. I don't know shit on PSE&G or LIPA, right? They've been a good partner. Their grid is antiquated. I'm not a big fan of Albany and politicians in Albany because, and even the federal government, they put out these programs and these headlines. We're going to do this by 2035.
Of course.
But there's nothing behind it, right? There's no real
Teeth. As
right?
always.
Teeth and funding
Yes.
behind making that happen.
To make sure you have the strong foundation.
It's a lot of headlines.
Yeah,
and
I don't think people are thinking about it. That's why they don't really process the technical side of it.
Right.
It's more about the superficial. It's the tip of the iceberg, but they ignore the entire bottom of the iceberg. That is the 90% that's below water.
Yeah, we're gonna stop building internal combustion vehicles in 2035 in California. No, you're not. You're just not.
And that's what always happens is government moves the goalposts, right? When they say it's only 100 yards, score a touchdown. Well,
Right.
you just get closer to the 1 yard line. It's like, it's actually 150 yards.
Yes, today.
Yeah.
We need 150 yards.
Now it's 150 yards, and then you get close to 150 5 years from now, and you're like, it's actually 250 yards.
But the intent is right. Listen, when in EV world, when you can have a 500-mile range and know that you can pull into someplace, or have a 300-mile range, which is enough, and know that you can fill up your electric in 12 minutes instead of 3 minutes at a gas pump to get the same three, and that it's cost effective. and you can do it anywhere.
Well, that's the key, right? That it's
Got-
cost effective and you could do it anywhere.
Right.
As opposed to, see, what I'm forecasting is over the next several years, what's going to happen is as you push more and more to the EVs, you're going to skyrocket because you have higher demand for it and therefore need for it, but yet they don't have that infrastructure yet, so everyone's
Right.
going to be pulling from the electricity and from the charging. Those fees will be higher, and because there'll be limited amounts of gas vehicles going to gas stations, gas prices will plummet, and it'll actually be more economically efficient to actually purchase gas vehicles.
Until there's an event, a world event, or some sort
as
of,
always.
Right. There's always something that can change on a dime. Like right now, we're at 26 cents a kilowatt-ish, 27 cents a kilowatt. Now, right now, the way it works is whether you turn your light switch on at 2 in the afternoon or 2 in the morning, it's a flat 26 cents.
Yeah.
Right? So what's being unveiled.
Yeah, I want to talk about this time of day rate
man.
codes because that's going to be key. So let's break that down. What exactly is happening? When is it happening? How does it affect us?
Residential ratepayers, this 3/4, however many meters there are, right? As of January 1st, 2024, you will be enrolled into a program called time of day rates, okay? What that means is that from 7:01 p.m. around the clock to 2:59, there will be one rate code.
2:59 a.m.
From 2:59 p.m. From 2:50. Okay, let me say it different. From 3 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Okay, those
right?
4 hours.
That's prime time.
Yeah.
People are coming home. The pools are running. Air conditioning's on. Prime time of day. We're going to see what I'm told is the rates will go to 36 cents. But I believe that once you add fuel surcharges and stuff, it's going to go significantly higher. So we're going to go in that period. We're going to go from 26 cents right away to 36 cents
Per watt?
per kilowatt hour.
kilowatt
right?
hour.
A kilowatt hour is one 100-watt light bulb burning for 10 hours, right?
Okay.
That's kind of how that works, right? But at the end of the day, you're going to see in those periods, okay,
Those
prime,
4-hour periods.
which is the prime use time
Yes.
for most people, especially the summertime, right?
Right.
Is it will jump up 25 to 30%. In exchange for that, the off-peak, which would be 7:01 p.m. through midnight, around the clock to 2:59 p.m., there's talking about a 22-cent rate, okay? But for the most part, you think about that. From 11 p.m., listen, I'm 60 years old. At 10 o'clock, my house is dark, right?
Yeah, of course.
No TV's on, the pool's not running. So from that time zone, it could go to 22 cents, which is what they're talking about. Now, the odd thing is that they believe that this will be cost neutral for people and could benefit some people. We navigated something for our existing solar customers so that there's stranded credits. Like if they produce a whole lot of stuff, and have it in their PSE&G bank, they don't get penalized and they get actually use that for different peak periods and stuff. But that's deep shit. I don't want to get too
Yeah,
deep.
but the point is to lessen the load for the grid. Is that why in those 4 hours?
No, it's so what that will do, okay? Inherently, when one of my customers called me up to go solar, their pain point was their electric bill, right?
Of course.
So now
I feel like that's the driving motivation.
so behavioral modification is something people have no idea they're being modified. The average homeowner, and I liken it to
It's conditioning behavior.
when you were a kid, our parents didn't wear seatbelts. Now you don't even think about it. Why? Because they penalize you for not wearing a
Well, I
seatbelt.
got that stupid monitor in the car that just keeps
Yeah,
beeping.
right. Our kids won't even think about it. It's just inherent. They go. Another example is plastic bags, right? Like, remember we all shit the bed when they said it's going to be a nickel for a plastic bag at the grocery. Now, you go to your car, I guarantee you have 3 bags that are sitting in the back of your car. They modified your behavior and they penalize you to do it, right? So think about that. I'm not going to get too philosophical.
No, but of course, that's natural.
Electricity
That's
is-
natural psychological conditioning.
So by doing these time of day rate codes, what that will do, and they're following Hawaii, which is the #1 solar market in the United States. It goes into California, and then it just all moves around. But battery attachment storage on
Yes.
homes will be the silver bullet, right? So now what they will modify your behavior to be, especially solar customers, existing solar customers, is okay, you have the solar system, right? Now you're going to spend some money, you're going to put a battery storage system on your house also. And what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to, at 3 to 7 p.m. time, you take that stored power in your batteries and you jam that into your house.
Of course.
Right now, you're putting solar-powered storage into your house. You've mitigated that time of day rate. Ultimately, what does that do? It takes their grid and lessens the load at the peak times.
Right.
You know, in the summertime, you know, in the middle of summer on Long Island, they may, by state code, they have to have like 6 gigawatts of capacity, whether they use it or not. And you know
Yes,
this,
they
right?
have to have, of course.
They have to have capacity right
Yeah.
now, which means they have to buy it from somewhere, whether it's wind power, stored power, Niagara, Mohawk, wherever. They have to have.
Which people don't understand is that they're purchasing, it's a market purchase in
Right.
order to cover in the safety, to have that safety net.
Right. So ultimately, that's why they're going to a time of day rate code. I don't say it's right or wrong. I say that the shit's going to hit the fan when people don't even realize they've been
That's
opted
exactly
into
it.
this. They didn't opt out of this.
Can you opt out?
Yeah, you can opt out, but your rate's going to go up either way. If you're opting out of what they believe is going to be the, again, I'm going to use word behavioral modification to enhance storage. You're not going to be at 22 cents, and you're not going to be at 26. You might be at 28 or something. And you know, it's such a fluid environment. The rate codes. I mean, last summer we had 32-cent kilowatt hour. You know, when gas. Remember something. You remember when gas was $4.60 a gallon?
Yeah, it's like that now anyway.
It's $3.75 right now.
Yeah,
Ish.
give it a few more months.
Throw another buck on it.
Yeah.
Guess what? The fuel. It's not just the power cost. It's the fuel to get the power, right? So, you know, base rate might be 14 cents. Now you start layering fuel surcharges on that, and that's the variable that makes our rates go wacky. It's not like, you know, maintaining this grid is so ridiculously different, you know, day to day. It's how they buy the fuel. Mm-hmm. That market creates the energy market as a whole.
Yeah, the variable purchase.
And it's you have an event like, you know, what we just went through, you know, Ukraine, Russia, whatever. You know, instead of domestically producing and keeping our gasoline here.
Right, now we have to purchase from a foreign adversary,
Right.
et cetera,
We ship our
with
shit
the Saudis,
off the
all
country.
that is a
We're
huge
not
issue.
going political.
We're
on
not
this,
going
right?
there.
Right.
I know you just brought it out on me.
Right.
I mean, I can go into that deep, but
that's the truth.
You're precisely right, but I do think that the battery storage side is important to bring in as that diversity. And you talk about choice. It is important that I think throughout our entire lives, we have choice in terms of everything, but energy we didn't. And I think that's what we're bringing into the 21st century. We're having that energy choice where it creates that diversity. Now, when you're talking about battery, is that part of your Tesla Powerwall?
Yeah.
Can you expound on that for homeowners? That now you spoke about the solar panels for residents and commercials. Now commercial buyers, and you have solar ecosystems is available to make sure we're protecting those that did invest in the solar and monitoring and ensuring the services are good and proper. Now you have the Tesla Powerwall that also builds on those protections by providing battery storage opportunities.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. Like, you know, storage attachment rate is pretty dismal right now on Long Island, and there's nothing in the city because the FDNY just keeps putting their heel right down on the throat of it because they're
Codes?
Yeah, you know, listen.
Fire codes?
You know what? Everybody's running around with these little goddamn scooters, and they're buying batteries from, you know, Nicaragua that are blowing up and burning down townhouses. So the irony is you can park your Tesla car in your garage under your house, right? And FDNY has nothing to say about it, but the same technology, the same batteries, they won't let you put in the garage
Once you affix
to
it,
power your house.
once you affix it to the home, we got a problem.
So stupid. But
that's what it is. It's the same battery.
it's the same battery. So listen, there's a lot of batteries out there. We at SUNation choose Tesla for a couple of reasons. First of all, I would never bet against Elon Musk on anything in period, right? The Tesla Powerwall is head and shoulders, the technology, the sizzle, the Tesla sizzle, right? That name brand is pretty
People
impressive.
love that tea.
But the technology behind it, like it's almost like when you open up a computer, you get on a spreadsheet program or something, you get on Excel, and you're like, you could dumb through it, but there's so much shit that can do that you don't do, right? Tesla Powerwall's just the same. There's so much technology embedded in that device that we don't even begin to use, but it's there, and they will start to enhance it more. But it's got such an amazing track record of reliability. The very same inverters that convert, the battery power to AC power, those inverters that are in a Tesla car are the same ones that we're using, right?
If there's a brownout or blackout or some sort, would that come into play?
Yeah.
Is that replacing of generators?
So, yes and no. So I can't give you a straight answer on that one. What I can tell you is that I had my banker, right, during PPP, right?
Yeah.
You know my banker, so I won't drop his name. But I got to him. I was like, so, hey, man, tell me about. He had COVID. He's working from home. This is in the shit show of PPP, right? I was like, just out of curiosity, if your power went out, what would happen? And he goes, I don't know. I was like, what do you mean? So I don't know. I says, well, what about your whole leadership team? He's like, I'm not really sure. I says, so right now he's got a 25 kW solar system on his roof and 4 Tesla Powerwalls. He has power reliability, right?
Yeah.
I can't touch his communications and his FiOS and stuff like that, but I can make sure that he has power, reliable backup power with all these people working from home.
Yeah, which is very
new norm.
Yeah,
right?
that's important. Actually, a lot of people don't think about is what happens. You just assume it.
You just assume, right?
Yeah.
So as an asshole that went through Sandy and was sucking gas out of my boat to feed a generator for 13 days, right? I know what that's like. Now, I have a generator on the side of my house because when I did that right after Sandy, the battery technology wasn't there, right?
Right.
But what I'll say is, you made a comment about generators. If you're going to, right now, the people that are adopting storage like Tesla Powerwalls on Long Island, it's really a shiny kind of thing that, it's a nice, sexy backup thing. It's expensive-ish. There's rebates, there's incentives and stuff like that, but there's no return on investment other than peace of mind.
Yeah, you know that you have the backup. But it makes sense for those working at home and, say, dealing with multiple millions of dollars worth of money that are being transacted, right?
Anything. Listen, the regular guy that has to work to pay the bill, forget the millionaire. If he can't work and he's working from home,
Well, right.
he's screwed.
Yeah.
You need power. You can't sit in your car, forever.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like where the storage thing comes into it. It's a sexy device. However,
Sexy storage, just like sexy solar.
yes, I like that. but you know what? But what will happen was now with time of day rate codes coming in, now when you take that power and you jam it into your home between 3 and 7 p.m., you can monetize that. Now you're taking cost-effective solar energy that you're storing with this thing. You're deploying it when you'd be charged 46 cents. Now, just like solar, there's a financial benefit to having that stored power to inject. There's also...
How much storage, though, can that contain?
Oh, man. Shit, I just did a job in Sag Harbor. I put 24 Powerwalls in an underground bunker for a hedge fund
Well,
guy.
that guy, yeah.
All right,
But for the average person who doesn't have a bunker, how many days?
And again, that's where that's the kicker right there. Like, during like when I was running on my generator on day 12, right? I'm like, I hear my generator go, brrr. I'm like, oh no, it's dead, right? We still didn't know when power was going to be restored. And I walk in my house, my wife's got the microwave spinning, my kid's blowing her hair, 2 other kids are watching TV, the pool pump somehow came on, right? And I'm like, we have a blackout, right? We have no power right now. So that's, when we talk about storage, you throttle down too hard, you're going to lose out. So you'll have an app that says, based on this condition right now, you have 26 hours of stored power.
Okay.
Well, now you throw in a 1,500-watt hair dryer, and this thing's going to say, based on this, you have 60, you have 40, you have...
I get
right?
it.
Like,
yeah, the more usage.
But you're in control, and that's where, when I said that span panel, that really smart electrical load center that we're working with, that shit, man, like you're watching it, and you could turn circuits off right on the app. You could really... And this is when I talk about the ecosystem of the home. Energy, of the home as a whole, communications, insight into it. When people think about smart homes, right? They think immediately lighting controls. They think about sound systems. They think about that kind of stuff, right? Controlling appliances-ish.
Yes.
But the ethos is like the energy consumption of the house. When I think of a smart home, I'm thinking about the energy consumption of the home. Heat pumps are a big, that's going to be a big play right now because, again, LIPA, they want to reduce the load.
Yes.
So now you have a million, a heat pump is a pretty efficient, but it's electrical. So now you got to add more on, but it's taken away from other things. So, there's no perfect scenario, but more and more what we find is people want, if you put two houses years ago in the real estate market, they would burn like an apple pie candle. Now, my customers, they put an electric bill on the kitchen table. It's like, wait a minute, $13 a month, that's the electric bill here? Yeah, did you see those solar panels? $13 a month. So now they're looking at two houses for $600,000, right? $700,000, whatever it is. And they said, well, this one is going to cost me $7,000 a year between electrical and oil or electric and gas and blah, blah, blah. And this one is $2,600.
Yeah, that's serious money difference.
Which one do you think is selling faster and at a premium?
Yeah.
It's this one.
Exactly. So you're looking at with a Powerwall, you're looking at basically days of usage, not like a week's time period. As opposed to a generator that would go that 12, 13 days. You're really looking at the Powerwall for more of those few hours to help support, where you need that extra wattage, you need that extra support and assistance.
If you go to PSE&G and you ask for the outages of the past year, what you will likely find is that 98.5% of outages last less than 15 minutes. Okay? Legitimately. Mm-hmm. You'll always have that one where, in the wintertime there was an ice storm and it took power down. But when was the last time, other than Sandy, where power's out for more than a couple hours when a car hit a pole or something like that? It doesn't really happen.
Right, but my point is as we come to this change where more and more reliance on the grid, you're going to see that in the forthcoming years.
You'll see brownouts.
You're going to be seeing brownouts seriously, and you're going to be seeing the same higher prices for the same amount of usage.
But think about, again, go back to when is it going to brown out? It's going to brown out in the summertime when air conditioning loads are the heaviest.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's never because of commercial applications and stuff. They throttle down most of the heavier users commercially on Long Island. They have throttled down stuff that they put in place, a protocol in place to help the grid. So you think about so now it's going to be the middle of the summer on a sunny day when all the air conditioners are cranking, which is exactly when the solar panels are doing the best job charging the batteries.
Yep.
So in theory, you could continually, if you had 7 sunny days in a row, you could probably, depending on how much storage you have, and that's engineering, don't get me involved in that, but you could technically have your solar panels recharging your batteries, deploying at night, recharging the next day, deploying at night. You just have to be mindful. You may have to be, depending on how many batteries you have and your load, you have to be mindful of, okay, well, I want my refrigerator and freezer. I want my TV. I want my modem. I want this and that.
Right, you have to be selective.
I don't need the electric pool heater right now. Right? Like, you have to be mindful of it. But with the technology that the Tesla Powerwall has and the span panel, it's telling you.
Yeah, it's always informing you, and you're becoming more educated. It's smart usage.
And it has access to weather data.
Yes.
I mean, that's
So
some of the things Tesla have is they have access to all of this stuff to give you accurate future, accurate predictions, right?
Right.
Of what you should do, what you shouldn't.
And that's what the smart technology is meant to do, right? It's meant to provide you predictive usage that's going to be based on your performance, based on your habits. This is what you're going to be doing. This is what you should have off. This is what you should have on. You go in here for that. Put this on at this time, so it still gives you that heat, but you don't have to have it on for the extra 4 hours. You just need it for these 3 hours.
You think I would have been able to do any of this shit being an electrical contractor? No way.
No way.
Like that. I mean, this is you say what's exciting about being part of building an industry and building a Long Island-based company.
You're shaping the future.
Yeah, we just opened up in Tampa. Okay, organically, SUNation opened in Tampa because I was told there was going to be a route that came from Breeze Airways from MacArthur straight down to Tampa. And literally, I could be to my office in Tampa if that happens faster than I could be out to Montauk.
Which is crazy.
Right?
That's so sad.
Or into the city.
Yeah, especially into the city. It's like, or to the Bronx.
Right.
Oh, my God.
So we're doing okay. It's a slow start. It's a tough time in my industry for a couple of reasons. With the interest rate craziness and inflation and stuff, man, everybody that's financing, we're no different than the mortgage stuff, right? Like, man, you go back 2 years ago and you're like, holy shit, this is great. And
Yeah, you were cranking back then.
fees to finance solar was so much less, and we had a little higher equipment costs, but we're vulnerable on the financing side. The technology is so great right now, and it's inching better, right? Like it used to be in my 22 years now of doing this, there were leaps, right? There were really leaps in how we deployed solar, the quality of the stuff, the electronics. Now it's like little tweaks, right? It's not as, because they've done it. SUNation is all about a customer experience, right? Like everything from beginning to end is based on customer experience. When we go down that route, until I can just slap or roll out solar, on somebody's roof or whatever, it's not going to get significantly better, but energy rates are going up. They continue to go up. We're in a great spot because there's buy-in now. People, it's not the old days where you're like, oh, that's ugly.
Yeah, you get it.
Everybody has it.
Now you can make it where it's aesthetically pleasing and it's also economically efficient. It's a win-win.
And like most people, the funny part is man, people refer me even before they have my installation. That's I'm a if you follow disc profiling at all, I'm a DI, a high D, a high I, right? Once I make a decision, it's who am I working with?
This is it.
Let's get going, right? When is it going in, right? So it's so interesting to see how this changes and how the customers change with this. But, they're people so proud of the decision to go solar. They're like, what are you waiting for? I did it. I'm smart. Right? And we're like, yeah, absolutely, man. You are. You're right. And now you have to fulfill that, and you don't take that for granted. But it's so different. I'm like, well, before I refer a contractor, a mason or something, I want to see what he does in my house first before I say, yeah, this guy did a great job. In my industry, I guess maybe it's my reputation already that I built over so many years, but it's also, people just want to feel good about the decision they make and share that stuff. And game on, man. Game on.
Well, Scotty, I absolutely loved it, man. Learning from you, hearing all about solar. I mean, Scott Maskin, founder, CEO of SUNation Energy, a.k.a. Solar Man, was here and giving us a full debriefing of solar. This has been so helpful.
Yeah, thanks,
and we
Mike.
appreciate having you come on and teach us all about how this can be shaping for the future. And
appreciate the opportunity. www.sunnation.com.
How do they reach you for email? Can they email you?
Oh man, you can call me on my cell, but smaskin@sunnation.com. Do the research. Get on. I'm happy to
SUNation
talk.
Energy.
SUNation Energy.
It's the way to go.
Brother, I'm so easy to find on Long Island.
Too easy.
Go on Connect Quad moms and dads groups. I'm there too. Whatever you need. But I appreciate the opportunity.
No, this has been great. Thanks for coming on.
You got it.